Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel. Unfortunately, the Philippines has lost 6-0 to Norway in our final group match, meaning that we have been knocked out of the World Cup. It shouldn't be understated that we had a fantastic World Cup. The 1-0 win against New Zealand was obviously a huge highlight. And there are so many positives to take away from this World Cup despite our most recent loss. But with that loss, I wanted to talk about the Philippines' final group match. I want to talk about the tactics behind the loss to Norway and some of the key moments in the game that obviously led to us losing. So with that, let's get into things. So I am going to start off by talking about the formations that each team lined up in, because this did have a big impact on the game. So Norway lined up in a 4-3-3 formation. So they had 4 in the back, 3 in the middle, 2 kind of out wide and 1 up top. And in contrast, the Philippines lined up in a classic 4-4-2. But as we're going to see, this led to some issues for the Philippines because Norway had the 3 people in the midfield here, and we see it as a flat here, but really this looked more like a triangle. And on the flip side, the Philippines only had 2 players in the middle, and this midfield battle leaned heavily towards Norway. And ultimately, I think this is where they won the game. So let's talk about how they won the game. And in particular, I'm going to talk about number 8 for Norway, Voarisa. So let's start off here in the 11th minute, where Norway is trying to build the ball out of the back. And here we can already see huge problems with how the Philippines is pressing, because we have 2 strikers here essentially marking nobody, and we don't even see our central midfielders at all, which means number 8 here is going to be wide open. And essentially what is happening here is that we don't have anyone pressing the ball, and we don't have anyone marking the progressive pass forward, which is where number 8 is going to be all times. So what needs to happen here is the strikers need to stagger. So one needs to curve their run and challenge the ball and essentially try to force the defender into a certain direction. And the other striker needs to switch and mark the defensive mid, because we don't have any midfielders here to cover this space. And if she receives the ball here, if they're able to split the defense and make that pass here, there is nobody within 15 yards of her, so she can turn face forward and provide a more progressive pass very easily. So we already have issues with the 4-4-2 because essentially we have 2 forwards here who aren't providing any pressure on the ball and aren't really marking anyone. So it's really easy for Norway to use number 8 as the pivot player to play out of the back and progress the ball forward, as we're going to see here. So now as we move the play forward 1 pass, we can see our 2 strikers have been split with 1 simple pass. And at this point, they are out of the game. They are behind the play. And our central midfielders are nowhere to be seen because they're marking the other 2 central midfielders of Norway. So we have a central midfielder here, and these are the 2 players that our Filipino central midfielders are covering, which means that number 8 in the middle has all kinds of time to receive the ball. She can turn and she can move the ball forward and all kinds of space because the closest players are behind her, and anyone who's in front of her to force her to move backwards is at least 10 yards away. So this becomes a really easy pivot play for Norway to progress the ball forward. And we're going to see multiple examples of this. And again, as we move the ball forward, number 8 has the ball here. Nobody's stepping up to press her. We have all of our Filipino players running backwards now. Our 2 central midfielders aren't facing the ball. Everyone's running backwards, which is exactly what we don't want. So she has all the time in the world to pick out a pass. She's going to play the ball over the top here. It's an excellent ball, and it ends up leading to a Norwegian corner. So in 2 passes, we started off here and we end up with a Norwegian corner. And a lot of that is because we don't have anyone who is stepping in to mark number 8, and she becomes the connecting player between the defense and the attack. All right, now let's move forward again. We're looking at the same player. Now we're in the 33rd minute. And as we can see, we have number 8 here. She's not being marked by anyone, and the ball is with the center back. And we're going to see that because our front line is so flat and because we don't have a midfielder, we don't have the midfield numbers. So Norway's playing with three central midfielders. Number 8 is going to be the one unmarked at all times. And we're going to see her be able to play this ball in here. She's going to be able to turn and progress the ball forward. Now, it's fine that our two players aren't pressing the ball super high. It's fine to let Norway have the ball here. But the issue is that the space between our lines is large. So the problem is we have two players here. We can't even see at this point our two central midfielders. So we have all this space in here between our forward line and our midfield line, which gives Voarisa so much space to operate, so much space to find and turn with the ball. And what essentially needs to be happening at this point is either one of the midfielders needs to step up, or preferably one of the forwards needs to step back and they need to stagger to cover that space. And essentially what happens is that as the ball moves side to side, they continue to stagger. So the ball is here right now on Bolden's side. So she should be coming in and Flanagan should be coming into this space. And then if she were to pass the ball here, Flanagan would step forward and Bolden would drop back into this space. And you can keep doing that from side to side. But because we're just playing a flat line, they're very easy for the defense to make a forward splitting pass, taking both players out of the game at the same time. And this is where number 8 has all the time in the world to operate. So let's move it one pass forward and you can see how this turns out. So as you can see here, we've moved the play one pass forward. Number 8 has the ball now. We don't have any central midfielders in sight. Our strikers are scrambling. Flanagan here is scrambling to get back into the play. But at this point, she's been able to receive the ball on the half turn and progress the ball forward. So she could, because she has so much space, we don't have any pressure on her. So she has all the time in the world to receive on the half turn, move the ball forward, and allow Norway to progress forward with the ball by playing in between our forward and midfield lines. And frankly, there's just too much space here. I mean, Flanagan's here. We don't even see any central midfields in this play at all. There's just so much space between the two lines that allows Voarisa to operate. And with a world-class passer like she is, we just can't allow her that time and space to dictate the play. And now Norway has moved the ball forward. And again, even when we're not higher up the pitch, even when we're in our own half, there's still so much space between our forward and midfield lines on defense. You want to be more compact, but there's probably 20 yards of space in between here. And look at all the room she has to operate. Nobody's marking her, so she can easily move forward. So if Flanagan's going to be pressing here, Bolden needs to be getting back here so that Norwegian players aren't able to progress the ball forward. But that doesn't happen. So as the play progresses, she's able to receive the ball, turn, and have all this space and time in here to operate to essentially be able to do whatever she wants with the ball. And the last play I want to talk about is in the 54th minute, where Voarisa right here, and to show how little time she needs to be able to make something happen. And at this level, at essentially a world-class level, this shows how we need to be able to press. So we see here, our lines aren't disconnected as much, but our player is pressing far too late. Number 8 here, Voarisa, she has her head on a swivel. She knows before she receives the ball exactly where she's going to pass that ball to. And we can see the pass is already happening here, and she just needs to be 5 yards closer. At this point, it's just too late. She already knows where she's going to pass the ball even before she's going to get it. And ultimately, this is going to lead to an opportunity for Norway. So moving the play forward one pass, we can see she hasn't even made a touch on the ball yet. Our Filipino defender is here, but she's just not close enough to be able to force her to go backwards. Number 8 here, Voarisa, as we can see here, she's not facing her own goal. She has excellent body position. She's playing on the half turn. So she's able to swivel and play that ball in behind here, which she knew she was going to do even before she received the ball. And this defense splitting pass allows Norway an opportunity to score. And so you guys can see this is the same pass. So that pass has gone in behind. Now Norway is in behind our defense. They're in on goal. They eventually make a cross and miss the opportunity. But all of that comes from Voarisa being able to find that space and being able to have the time to play the ball in behind our defense. So that illustrates kind of the impact of Voarisa. Ultimately, Norway played through her the whole game, and just our 4-4-2 formation, we weren't able to contain her. We needed either one of the strikers to drop in back, or we needed to put in another midfielder to prevent them from playing out of the back. But that was what was happening in possession, and one of the reasons Norway was able to dominate the ball the way they did. And that was kind of our main issue with our formation. But with that, let's move into kind of the big moments in the game. I'm only going to talk about a few of the goals. I don't think I need to talk about all 6 of them. But first, let's talk about the first goal and some of the defensive mistakes that led to that first goal. But before we go into kind of the big mistake defensively on the first goal, I want to show a clip of actually where it happened well. Matchup is between our right back and Norway's forward, who has peeled out to that side. So we can see here that the ball is about to go into the box. So the ball is here, about the same position it'll be from the goal. And we can see that our defense is pretty much all on the same line here, which is essentially what we want. And we can see here that the Norwegian player is getting ready to cross the ball into the box. So by looking at the Norwegian player's body position, we know that she's looking to swing the ball in, and all of our Filipino players have reacted well. Everyone has good body shape, so they're not facing their own goal, they're not moving forward or backwards, and at this point, they're all adjusting their body position to be able to react to the cross. And as a result, this cross has to go in deeper, and our right back here is going to be able to be close enough to the play to essentially make sure that Hogg isn't able to do anything when she receives the ball. So moving this play forward, the ball has been crossed in. We can see the ball up here. And we can see that our right back is tight to the Norwegian forward. We can see she's in a position to be able to make the play on the ball. And ultimately, it's pretty good defending at this point in time. But now we're going to contrast this with what happened on the goal, and we're going to see how a little mistake in her footwork leads to Norway being able to score. So now let's move into Norway's first goal. And Norway has just played the ball back, and we can see here that the Norwegian player, just like in the previous example, is getting ready to put the ball into the box. We can see her body position. We know that she's getting ready to move the ball in. But now we have some issues with our back line. First, we're not really in a line. We have 3 people here in a line, and our right back has stepped up. So this isn't really a good sign. And the other issue is how late our right back responds to the ball being crossed in. So we can see here, she's actually moving forward at this point, and the ball is about to be crossed in. We can see that the Norwegian player, totally aware that the ball is going to be crossed in, she's already looking to get in behind here. She is adjusting her body weight to be able to attack the ball as it's coming in. However, our right back, Barker, hasn't quite done that yet. So she's still moving forward, and she's actually still about to take a couple steps forward before she reacts to the cross being put in. So at this point, the Norwegian offender already has an advantage because she's reacting earlier to what's going to happen next. And now at this point, the ball has been kicked, the ball is being crossed in, and our right back still hasn't reacted. She is still moving forward. Her body weight is still moving forward. So at this point, she still has to plant her foot and reposition her body weight to move backwards and react to the ball. And the Norwegian player has already done that. So she already has a head start. So at this point, it's essentially too late. Our defender can't react in time, and it's going to be easy for the Norwegian player to win the header because she already has this head start. And now, right before the Norwegian player kicks the ball, we can see she's well behind the play. I mean, essentially, she's given up at this point on being able to reach the ball. She's just hoping that the Norwegian player misses, but she's behind the play. The Norwegian player has a lot of time. And granted, this is a ridiculous finish. There is no reason she should be able to score from this angle with the ball traveling as far as it did. This is absolutely ridiculous finish technically. I mean, it was really unfortunate for the Philippines that Hogg decided to have an absolutely amazing game when she did. There were mistakes leading up to this goal, but ultimately, it should be mentioned, this is just a fantastic technical goal by Romain Hogg. All right, so that was the first goal. Let's talk about the second goal. All right, so this is the beginning of the play for the second goal. And this is another excellent illustration of how number 8 for Norway is able to progress the ball forward. And her impact on this goal happens throughout the progression of the play. So as we can see here, the ball is with the Norwegian center back. And again, number 8, Voarisa, wide open. So at this point, our strikers are kind of out of the game. They're neither pressing the player nor dropping back to cover one of the Norwegian players. And we don't have any central Filipina midfielders in sight. So this is an easy pass to make, and she has all the time in the world to turn and continue to progress the play forward. So now the play has continued to progress forward. We're a few passes in. And again, we're seeing the same situation here where number 8 has all the time in the world. So Norway has now moved 5 to 10 yards up the field, which is exactly what they want to do. Once again, we're in our flat 4-4-2. There's too much space between our attackers, and neither of them are pressing the ball nor covering one of the players here. They're flat, they're not staggered. So it's easy to play the defense splitting ball here. And she's going to have all the time to turn and again continue to progress the play forward. And now we've progressed the play forward to essentially right before the goal. And it's again, who is on the ball? Number 8. And we don't have any of our midfielders close to her because they're marking the other 2 Norwegian central midfielders. And at this point, our strikers aren't closing down the ball. So she just has a lot of time and space to be able to put that ball into the box. And again, Bo Reese is a world-class player. Norway is a world-class team. So having this amount of time on the ball is going to be punished. So at this point, she has time to look up. She has made the connection here with Hogg, and Hogg has really good body position here. And honestly, this is really good movement. At this point, she's not standing on the central defender. She has found the space between Long and Barker. And by playing in between there, she has given Boarisa an angle to put the ball over the top and allow her to get her head on the ball. And again, this ball is played in. It's an amazing ball. Honestly, maybe they could be closer to her, but this is a world-class ball and an absolute world-class header. There's not something hugely wrong defensively here that the Philippines did. This is just world-class offense beating decent defense for Norway. This is a phenomenal header to score at the back post. These are absolutely ridiculous goals by Norway. It's unfortunate that the Philippines was on the other side of it. Maybe we could have done a little bit more to prevent the ball from going into the box, but ultimately, this is world-class forward play by Norway. So that was goal number 2 for Norway. I will also talk about goal number 3, and again, just how absolutely world-class it was. So this is the third goal for Norway. Honestly, the only thing I have to say here is there is too much space for her to take this shot. So, I mean, Norway, she had received the ball. She wasn't facing goal originally. So there is time here for one of the Filipino players to close down that space to make sure she can't get a shot off. But this is a player who plays for Barcelona. She's one of the best players in the world. She's going to hit the strike beautifully well. We just really need to close down the space. There is too much time and space for Norway's players. But this is a world-class strike. It's unfortunate that we got Norway on a day when their attack was clicking and they just played phenomenally well. But sometimes these things happen. But really, those are the 3 goals I'm going to talk about. I don't think there's a point in talking about all 6 goals. All of them had kind of similar issues. And especially, I think the last goal or maybe the last two goals were after the red card. And at that point, we were only down to 10 players on the field. But with that, let's talk about another kind of issue the Philippines had, which was a lack of being able to control possession throughout the game. So let's talk again about the lack of possession and kind of the inability of the Philippines to progress the ball forward against this Norwegian side. So one of the plays here, we can see here that we have won the ball. I believe this is Cowart who has kind of won the ball in the midfielder. She's stepped up from her central defensive role here and won the ball kind of high up the pitch. And the problem was that when the Philippines won the ball, a lot of the times we tended to go backward or we tended to just kind of lump the ball up the field to nobody. And the thing is, we see the Norwegian players on the ground here, and unfortunately, Cowart kind of has to turn with the way that the ball kind of ricocheted. But to keep possession, the ball forward is actually right here. This is where the space is, and we already have two of our Filipino players running forward. The next pass should be in here. This would be the way to progress the ball forward. However, unfortunately, with kind of the way the ball ricochets, she does end up moving backwards. So let's move the ball forward a little bit. So we can see here now the play has settled. And here I would like to see her, like the Norwegian players on the floor, I would like to see her just take a moment, recognize that the player's on the floor. At this point, she should recognize that she has time. She can pivot and move this ball into this area here. We have two players moving forward. This would be the way to progress the ball. Ooh, that is not a good arrow. And just to have that spatial awareness to be able to realize that she can progress the ball forward here. However, she ends up moving the ball backwards. But when this pass moves backwards, this is going to trigger the Norwegian press. And Norway has 1, 2, 3, 4, and when she gets up, 5 players to be able to press the Philippines high up the pitch and force a mistake. As we move the play forward, we can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Norwegian players essentially covering all of the Filipino players. And this is in strong contrast to what the Philippines was doing, because this space in here where our two central midfielders are, this area is completely open when Norway is looking to progress the ball forward. But we can see here how easily and effectively Norway is able to cover that space, cover any simple passes, and make it really difficult for the Philippines to be able to keep possession and progress the ball forward. And this forces a longer, more difficult pass up. That gives a lot of time for the Norwegian defenders to step in and steal the ball because of the distance that the pass has to move towards. And overall, this was pretty consistent throughout the game. Norway's players were able to press higher up the pitch. They were progressing very effectively, and it was really difficult for the Philippines to keep possession, which meant that we were defending a lot of the game and that took a lot of pressure onto our back line. But I do want to talk about what happened when the Philippines did press higher up the pitch, because when we did press high up the pitch and put pressure on Norway's back line, we were actually very effective. And we can see here, this is in the 58th minute. Unfortunately, it's already 5-0 to Norway, but we are pressing very high. So Norway's keeper has the ball here. And for the most part, we have bodies forward. We have 4 people in shot here. So Bolden is pressing the goalkeeper. We have Guiu here, who is progressing against the easy outlet pass for the Norwegian keeper. And we have 2 players here covering number 8, again, who is the pivot player and who is one of the players that was able to consistently receive the ball, turn, and move the ball forward throughout the game. So what we're seeing here, there are no options for the Norwegian goalkeeper, and all of a sudden the Philippines have an opportunity to win the ball high up the pitch and create an opportunity of our own. So as we progress the play here, we can actually see the Philippines pressing well and winning the ball high up the pitch. And I just wish this was something we did sooner and more often throughout the game. So moving the play one pass forward, the goalkeeper has been forced to now play a very difficult chipped ball to, I believe this is the right back. And it ends up being a difficult ball. They don't hit it very well. And now, because we have so many players forward, we're able to win the ball near the 18-yard box for Norway. And as we can see here, our midfielder is able to win the header. She's now heading it forward to Giyu. And now we have 1, 2, 3, essentially 3 players who Giyu can have an option with. And now we can create our own opportunity. Unfortunately, the situation didn't lead to a shot on goal for us, but this is a really good example of us being able to press higher up the pitch, being able to force a mistake from one of Norway's players, and being able to fashion out some possession in the opposition half for ourselves. And I just wish that this was something we had done earlier in the match and more often. So that was us in possession and out of possession. Now let's talk about the most controversial moment of the game, the red card for Sophia Harrison in the 67th minute. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, as far as whether it was a red card or not, I don't think it was a red card. It was at least a very soft red card, but I think that it looks a lot worse on VAR when you're slowing it down. But I really want to talk about a moment that happened about 5 seconds beforehand. So going into this play, to start off, this is actually another really excellent moment where the Philippines is pressing high and winning the ball high up the pitch, and it actually fashioned out an opportunity for us, which I'll talk about here. But as we can see here, the ball is played backwards from the right back to the central defender, and we have a little bit more pressure on the back line, but it's not that we just have more pressure on the back line. There isn't this huge disconnect between the forward line and the midfield line. We have a midfielder here who's pressing the easy ball. We have Quezada here who's pressing in here. And we have central midfielders here who are able to cut down the space. So there isn't an easy outlet pass for Norway. So as we move the ball forward, Sophia Harrison, who's just come onto the pitch and is providing tons of energy, is able to step in, win the ball, and now we are winning the ball at the pitch, high in the opposition half, and we are moving the ball forward. This was actually something that we did well when our subs came in. Sophia Harrison especially, I thought she brought a lot of energy. Again, unfortunately, that led to the red card, but they brought a lot of energy. We pressed a little bit higher up the pitch, and now we're winning the ball high up the pitch. So now moving the play forward, Sophia Harrison is able to overlap. We get the ball into the box. And this is just before the red card. This is like 5 seconds before. This is a penalty. We can see here, number 6 is clearly, like you can see that right there. She's clearly pushing her arm into Giyu. This should be a pen. So if we move the ball forward again, like half a second, what was an opportunity for Giyu, I mean, she's completely pushed over and tackled by the Norwegian defender, and the Norwegian defender does not get the ball. This is a pen for the Philippines. It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, it was 5-0 to Norway, but it's just a little frustrating that Sophia Harrison's about to get sent off when the Philippines have a clear penalty at this point in time. Unfortunately, that bit of, again, what I think is poor refereeing does lead to the red card for Sophia Harrison. I do think this is a soft red card. She does step on the player's ankle, but I don't think it's with excessive force. I think this is just a normal play. Maybe it's a yellow card. It's certainly a late tackle, but I don't think this is a red card. It's very unfortunate for Sophia Harrison because she came in, she was probably frustrated to have been dropped. She's coming in with a lot of energy. She honestly played very well in the limited time that she had on the field. It's unfortunate, but I guess these things happen and we move on. But really, in the lead up to this, there should have been a penalty. So those were kind of the key moments from the game. The last thing that I want to talk about, just as I talked about in the previous video, is Olivia McDaniel. Because Olivia McDaniel had an absolutely fantastic World Cup. She is not currently with a club. This is someone who has the quality to be playing in a top league in Europe or the NWSL. I really hope that after the World Cup, a big club looks to come in and sign her, because Olivia McDaniel proved in this World Cup that she is an excellent goalkeeper and she should be playing at the highest level week in, week out. So the first thing I want to highlight again is Olivia McDaniel's command of area. And we can see a really good example of this on the corner here for Norway. This is an absolutely fantastic punch out of the box. She is very crowded out. I mean, there's tons of players in here. We see four Norway players and four or five Filipino players. And despite that, she's able to rise highest, find the ball at its highest point, and punch it away to relieve some of the pressure on the Philippines back line. This is something that's very difficult to do, especially in traffic. And Olivia McDaniel proved time and again throughout the World Cup the 6 yard box is hers. Anything that was floated into that area, she either came out and grabbed or punched. She was absolutely brilliant in this regard to help relieve pressure on the Filipino back line. This is fantastic play from Olivia McDaniel. And she really showed throughout the World Cup that she has excellent command of her box. So the next McDaniel play that I want to highlight is this absolutely ridiculous save. So 11 here for Switzerland has cut inside, has all kinds of time and space, and she is looking to curl that ball into the top corner. However, as we can see here, McDaniel's about to make an amazing save, and it starts here. She's in the perfect position to be able to make the save. She's not too far on either side of the goal, but most importantly, she's in what we're going to call a athletic ready position. Her knees are slightly bent. She's not standing too straight up or too straight down. She's in an athletic position to be able to spring up and make the save. The next kind of amazing part of this save is her footwork. So we can see the ball is in the air. McDaniel's actually just making her jump. So she started off slightly over here and she makes a couple of shuffles before making the dive. If she just stays put and makes the dive, she isn't going to be able to cover the distance needed to be able to make that save. However, she has excellent footwork. She shuffles over very quickly. She maintains her athletic position. And because of that, now she is able to spring and make that save. And now moving forward, she gets amazing elevation off the ground. She's able to use her top hand, and now she has a strong hand. Because if that is a soft hand, that ball is going to the ball into the goal. She isn't able to get enough power to be able to parry the ball wide, but she has a strong hand, she has a strong wrist. She's able to get a firm hand onto the strike, and she is able to parry that ball wide. This is an absolutely phenomenal save by Olivia McDaniel. And again, one of many world-class saves she produced throughout the World Cup. And the final save I want to talk about is unfortunately right after Norway's fourth goal and in the lead up to fifth goal. But this is another absolutely phenomenal save from Olivia McDaniel. So as we can see here, she's positioned very well. There is a lot of room on this side of the goal, but at this point, she's kind of baiting her to move to that side, and she anticipates it well, and actually she gets down very early to make this save. It's a little bit reminiscent of the Hope solo save against Japan in the 2012 Olympic final, where she's positioned very well and she's able to get down early to make that save. And as we're about to see, I mean, the Norwegian player has all kinds of time and space here as Norway was able to get in behind. And McDaniel's able to make an absolutely phenomenal save. She's very well positioned to make the save. And again, this is just another world-class save that deserves to be highlighted. So as we move the play forward, she's perfectly positioned. The ball goes right at her, but again, the ball goes right at her because Olivia McDaniel is positioned to be able to anticipate where the ball is going to go and make that save. She makes a phenomenal save. I mean, the Norway player thinks she scored. She's already wheeling away at this point. But again, it's a absolutely phenomenal save from Olivia McDaniel. Overall, I think Olivia McDaniel has been the best player for the Philippines at this World Cup. She's been absolutely phenomenal. I would love to see her make the team of the tournament, but most importantly, she deserves to be signed by a team in the NWSL or one of the better teams in or one of the better leagues in Europe. She is quality and she should be playing at that high level. So that is everything I have for the Philippines versus Norway. This was unfortunately our last World Cup game, but I think this Philippines team and everyone who has supported the Philippines, I think we can have a lot of pride for how we played in this World Cup, our first ever World Cup, winning a game, Bolden getting the goal, and having some truly standout players who I think they have shown that they can be playing at a professional level. The future is bright for this team, and I'm so excited for the next 4 years to hopefully see us back at another World Cup. But with that, I will be coming out with another video soon talking about what's next for this Philippines team and the potential trajectory and path towards the next World Cup. But until then, if you would like to watch more match analysis for the Philippines team and how they did against New Zealand, that is on your screen now. But with that, thank you for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the Philippines run in this World Cup, and I will see you all next time. Bye!